So the art of storytelling, I'm very happy to be given the opportunity by Yout to run this session because storytelling is one of the most important things that every entrepreneur, or let's say everyone, needs to learn. Particularly if you're an entrepreneur, you need to learn how to tell a story about your business and about anything, because that's going to help you with fundraising, that's going to help you with gaining clients and all those other things. I mean, it's important to have technical skills. It's great to have the best product, but if you don't know how to get people's attention, then you won't be able to get the type of support that you need. So this is a great topic that I'm happy to share with all of you. And before we go on, I would like to say thank you to Yout for all the support that they've given to Pitch Hub over the years. We are really appreciative of that, and also giving us this platform to share knowledge with other people. So I'm sharing this iceberg, right? A lot of the times people only see what's up and not what's beneath. Why do I say this? You need to understand that before people get to really understand what your business is about, it's the little things that you tell them, right? So it's that little thing that you tell them, which from the slides indicates what you can see here. The iceberg that is above water, that's what you tell people. But that picture is what is going to help them imagine like how deep and how strong your entire business or your entire idea is. And that's why it's important to learn how to articulate and how to take people on a journey when you're talking to them about your story. Now, the most important reason why you need to learn how to tell a great and fascinating, compelling story is because it catches attention. People are busy. People are doing so many different things. Like, you don't expect people to give you attention because they don't owe you that. So it's important to always find ways and means to grab that attention. When you have people's attention, that's when they can give you what you need from them. If you don't have the attention, you won't even be able to tell them what you need from them, right? So a great story is the best way of catching people's attention. Now, why are we learning this? I know most of you are business owners. If you're not a business owner, maybe you have an idea that you want to start, or you have an NGO or something like that. Storytelling is so important when you're pitching. Like, your pitch is basically a story that you're telling. And everyone pitches, everyone asks for help or asks for support in one way or another. But for the purpose of this presentation, I'm just going to focus on 4 key target people that you usually tell a story to, or you usually tell a story to in the form of a pitch. It could be your colleague, it could be your potential employer, it could be your potential customer, or it could be a potential investor. Potential employer, when you go for a job interview, right? You're basically telling a story about yourself and why you think you can do that job. So the whole conversation is just you telling a story about why you're the most suitable person, 1, for the job, and 2, also for that company. And then you also listen to your employer to see the kind of story that they will also tell. That will also inform as to whether is this type of culture that I want to find myself in. It's the same thing for customers. When you're telling customers about your product or your service that you offer as a business, you want to tell them a story that will resonate with them, that will relate with them, so that they know that, okay, for this particular need, this is a product that I need to purchase to solve that need. So you pitch or you tell a story to so many different people, so many different categories of people. So I don't want you to think that, oh, this is just for business owners, or this is just for people owning NGOs, or oh, I don't have an idea, so I don't need this. No, everyone needs to learn this. Now, why is storytelling so important? I've put two main reasons here. Like, as humans, we have a history of our consciousness built on stories. Like, a lot of us grew up listening to stories from our grandparents or our parents or different people. A lot of us grew up reading books that will build our consciousness. When you read books and you're reading about a story, you're taking on a journey and you start imagining, awakening your consciousness, your subconscious, like imagining certain things. And all of those things that you imagine helps you connect with whoever is telling you the story. Or even sometimes not whoever is telling you the story, but whoever you're reading about, or the fictional characters in the story that you're reading. So that's why we say that storytelling is so important to get that level of connection. And the reason why you want to get that level of connection is because when you have that connection, then you're able to have attention. Okay, so we're moving on to the next, which is a winning story. So what makes a winning story? A winning story should be, one, it should be unique, right? And when we say a story should be unique, it doesn't necessarily mean that it should be something that has never been heard before. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, right? We all know that. Like, a lot of the things that we see now, a lot of the inventions that we see now are things that people have tried and are like improving on. When we say it should be unique, it should be told in such a way that we can see how your experience or whatever you are telling is so crafted to you, you know. So we don't want a situation where you are trying so hard to tell a story which is not your truth. I'll explain that as we move ahead. So your story needs to be unique enough, because if it's unique, then it's interesting, it's intriguing. People are like, okay, I want to hear more about this, whatever this person is talking about. And immediately you arouse that curiosity, then you're able to hold the person's attention. Now, a lot of people also want stories that are familiar, they are familiar with. And it doesn't mean that the way you tell the story, they have heard it before. It just means that they are able to relate to what you're saying on a personal level. If I have, let's take an example here. Let's say you are developing a product for women, right? And then you tell a story about the problems that you as a woman face in your office, right? If I'm also a corporate person sitting in that room, that would be a familiar story because I may have also experienced something similar. So that's what we mean by that. Or as a woman, you're talking about maybe raising children and the challenges that comes with it. So then you are telling your story about how you take care of your children and how you balance that with work and all of those things. That, if I'm somebody in the room and I have a child, that will be a familiar story because I also have a similar story and I'm also going through the same thing. So then I'm able to relate with you on a very personal level because I also share in that experience. So that's what a winning story is. You can only give a winning story when you are familiar with the people that you're going to tell that story to, right? So before you go and do any like pitch competition, or you talk to any customer, or you talk to any colleague because you need something, make sure that you do an extensive research about who the person is. Because if you know who the person is, then you can tweak your presentation, you can tweak your conversation or your story to fit into what can be relatable to that person. I'm going to give you a typical example. So recently, I think last week, we had a pitch competition for some students, some Canadian students. And some of them were not really familiar with pitching. But there was one girl who came in and had done like extensive research on the panel of judges. And one of the panel had a background in, I think, was it cancer immunology or something like that? Yeah, cancer immunology. And when the girl was given her presentation, she mentioned something like, and I know, Mr. X, you have a background in cancer immunology, so you would be able to really appreciate this solution that I'm proposing. And that was fantastic, because then she was able to grab his attention, because he was like, how did you know I have a background in cancer immunology? That is so interesting and so great to hear. And from that time, she had the panel's attention throughout, and the feedback was great. She did really well. So that's the kind of thing that we are saying. If you want to give a great story needs to be unique. It needs to be interesting enough to hold attention. It needs to be familiar enough so that people can relate to it on a personal level. Okay. Then now I'm going to talk to you about where storytelling comes in, because I know some of you will be asking, like, how do I tell a story about my business? Like, what aspect of my business do I change into a story, or do I craft a story around? Well, I'm going to share with you some ways of coming up with your story. So the first one is the problem story. Okay, we'll go deep into all of these as we move along. So the first one is the problem story. The second one is the team story. So for the problem story, you can tell a story about why you came up with the problem in the first place. How did you figure out that problem? The second thing is the team story. What's the story behind the team that you have put together? Who are on your team, and what's their background? What's their story? Why are you having them on your team? All of those things. You can put them together to tell a story. The next thing is also the financial story. Then the last one I will propose is your vision story. Okay, so let's move into each one of them. So the problem story. This is, I think, the most popular aspect of storytelling when it comes to business, or even running an NGO, and you want to talk about impact reporting and things like that. The problem story is one of the most fascinating and one of the most important stories that you can tell. So make sure that you really work on setting the entire atmosphere right with your problem story. It's important to tell us why you started the business, or why you started the course in the first place. How did you encounter the problem? What pain did you feel? How can the people listening to you personally relate to that problem in their own lives? Okay. Sometimes it's not really you facing the problem. It could be that you have seen other people face the problem. You know, so tell a story about that. Tell a story about those people. It could be you wanted to do something, but you couldn't do it because there was a lack of service, you know. So how did that impact you? Tell a story with that. The vision story. So the vision story is basically like you've already started with your problem story. So you've told them why you came up with the problem in the first place, how the problem is impacting people, how the problem is impacting yourself, how they can relate to the problem, because you've done your research about them and you know how they can relate to whatever problem that you have identified. Then now lay out the heroes of the story and then tell how they will be able to solve the problem, so that the hero of the story will be your business, right? So how would you be able to solve the problem? That is your vision, right? What is your solution? That is your vision. So tell us what puts you in a position to be able to solve that problem that you have identified. Use a story to tell us that. Use a story, like use an analogy to tell us that because you face this problem, you were eager to craft a solution or to come up with a solution, and this is how you will be able to solve the problem with that type of solution. But don't just tell us that this is my problem and this is my solution. It would be nice to put them in a story so that we are able to walk with you. Okay, we go on that journey with you. Yeah, let's move to the next one, which is the financial story. So the financial story this is like one of the hardest stories to tell because it's usually it's numbers, right? But what you can do is you can use graphs and images to just tell a certain story about growth, right? So you can talk about how maybe when you started the business, you had only maybe 2 people purchasing your product, but because you did A, B, and C in the year 2020, you had an increase of 20% of people. And this happened because of A, B, and C. When you give the key factors that way, they will be able to connect the dots themselves to get a good story out of it. So the financial story can be a bit tricky, but the easy way out is to make sure that you use graphs to show them like a timeline of your growth. Whilst you're talking, they'll be able to put 2 and 2 together in their mind, and then they'll be able to come together with a very interesting story. Then the next one is team story. You can have the best product, you can have like the best solution, but what people are more interested in is who is going to execute this project, or who is going to run this business. You need to tell a story that will fascinate people and make people increase the confidence of people in your business to say, okay, I strongly believe that this company can solve the problem. So you have to show, I have it on the slides, I don't know if you can see it, show how your team is the team that is best equipped to take the challenge on, show the great resilience and coachability and the problem-solving talents that will carry the investment of whoever is giving you the investment. That's, I assumed in the slides that you are maybe telling a story to raise funding. So that's why I use a lot of words like investment, profitability, and all of that. But it works in all instances, right? Just show that your team is the best. Even if you're running an NGO, show that your team is the best positioned to run that NGO and to progress that company. So how do we tell a story? It's better to use graphs, like I said, to use diagrams, to use pictures or images of people using your product in the real world. So instead of you trying to type out everything that you want to say, you can, when you're doing the presentation, you can present the image and then you tell a story with the image. Okay, so I only show an image and then I talk about the image and I talk about why it's important. Okay, and then extracting your best story. A lot of people, I mean, technical skills are easy to learn. Like, it's easy to learn how to code. It's easy to learn how to build a product. It's easy to learn how to do marketing. It's easy to sell, but it's not easy to learn how to tell a story because it's an art, right? So what I advise people to do is you can leverage the help of professional storytellers or brand journalists or any person that maybe you've listened to before and you're like, this person told an incredibly interesting story. So maybe I could learn a thing or two from that person. It doesn't come easy for everyone, but you should be willing to learn it because it's a great skill that will tremendously help your business. So on this note, I'll give an example. So like Michael said, in 2017, I pitched Pitch Hub at the Yout Time conference, and we won the grant to run Pitch Hub, which we are still doing currently. And I think one of the reasons, or the main reason why I won that pitch competition was basically because I told a story. So I started by telling a story about entrepreneurs in Ghana and unemployment in Ghana, right? So there's a high rate of unemployment in Ghana. And even I was scared when I was in school, when I was in my final year. I was scared of finishing school because like you going through years of education and then coming out without a job is something that can be so frustrating and something that could potentially even affect your mental health, right? So there are thousands or hundreds of thousands of young people graduating every year without a job, because the reality is that the corporate market or the job market cannot absorb every single person who comes out of school. So what do? We need to create a solution for young people to be able to, instead of being job seekers, become job creators themselves. So how do we do that? We need to create a program where we train these young people to think as entrepreneurs so that they can come up with ideas and implement their ideas. So this is the journey that I took the panel on. This is the journey that I took a lot of the participants on. Imagine you helping a young person in Ghana who just completed university to start their own business and be able to fend for themselves and also their family. Imagine the number of families that you are potentially moving out of poverty, because then they have somebody who is able to provide for them. And then that cycle of poverty is gradually being reduced. And so the rate on a national level will also reduce. So just by giving us that grant, you look at how the impact is going to be so tremendous. Even if it's one person whose life is changed, that one person is going to potentially change the life of his family. And then that family is going to potentially change the lives of their community. And then the effect flows like that. So instead of just coming up on stage to say, Pitch Up is a business that does, or Pitch Up is an idea that would do A, B, and C, I spent a lot of time telling the story about the problem and how a solution like Pitch Up, where we create solutions, like we train young people on how to think like entrepreneurs, how to come up with their own ideas, and how to seek funding to run their businesses, how that could potentially be the solution to unemployment in Ghana. And that's what helped us win. So I hope that with the little that I've walked you through today, you'll be able to go back and then come up with short stories about your ideas, the ideas that you have, and how you can potentially sell those ideas through storytelling to be able to get the funding or get the support or partnership that you require. So I want to test the knowledge that you have gained. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to create a story about your team. That's if you've already started a business, or you've already started maybe an NGO and you have volunteers or you have a team. Create a short story about your team and let's listen to it. And if you want to share, that would be great, because I'll be able to give you feedback. If you'll not be able to share, that's also okay. Then the next thing I want you to do is script an elevator pitch incorporating a short problem story. So if you have an idea, let's say you are pitching that idea, right? Script an elevator pitch and then incorporate that story into, incorporate problem story into that pitch. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so Michael, I'm not sure if people will be able to unmute to share. Would they be able to do that?
Yeah, I can allow people to talk if they want to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they just write in the chat box that they wanna talk, I'll be able to unmute them.
Okay, that'd be great.
So this is a time not to be shy.
So yeah, just be confident, and remember, entrepreneurs or young people are not supposed to be shy. We are supposed to be able to like freely share our ideas, freely seek for guidance, freely just, you know, speak up so that if there's any help, we can help you. Okay. Whilst you're preparing that, for those who also don't want to share, you can also put your questions and your questions in the chat, and then I will go on to respond to them. Okay.
I suppose, Aurelia, we do have a couple of questions which have come through. I suppose this one is kind of putting you on the spot, I suppose, to explain a story, which is stating which story that you have supported gave you the most satisfaction. So can you tell the story about the best story you've kind of heard, which has given you the most satisfaction?
Okay, so we work with a lot of entrepreneurs in Ghana, obviously, and we also work with institutions in Ghana who allow us to run entrepreneurial programs for them. So there was one particular program that we did was like I think a 2 weeks program for some entrepreneurs, and one of those entrepreneurs, so it was 2 weeks. We had, I think, 10 people. We're supposed to train them, and then we had like a grand pitch where the winner would walk home with funding. The reason why that person won was because he spoke to us about his rabbit farm. And I know this sounds like, what, rabbit farm? But I kind of like, I related to that story because he explained how important that farming, like, so it's a rabbit farm, that how important that business was to his family, and how that business had supported his family over the years, but for some reason they didn't have enough funding to keep it going, you know, because they wanted to do some expansions, but they couldn't keep it going. So it's either they give up or they're still running it on a very small scale, which might not necessarily be enough to support the family. It was captivating because of the whole story of family and how important that business was to the family and how that business could potentially change things for the family. And he won. I wasn't a judge, but I knew instantly that he was going to win. There's another story. I'm trying to remember another one. So many stories that we hear like every single day because people pitch to us. I'm trying to remember another one which was really, really good. Let's go on let me answer the next question. I'm sure I'll remember. There's so many pictures in my mind right now. I'm trying to see which one I should share and which one I shouldn't.
Well, I think that really kind of raises the point you stated before, which is about relating the story to your audience. I think it's something a lot of us really struggle with. So especially currently, we're seeing more and more people expressing their views or trying to get people to join in with their ideas. Especially with social media at the moment, it's kind of going crazy in the current situation. They show a lot of enthusiasm with what they're kind of stating, but they struggle to show how it really shows a benefit to connect to each other. So is there any kind of specific tips, techniques, exercises, anything like that, which they can do to try and improve that skill?
The skill of connecting with people, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, if you want to connect with people, you have to know them. Okay, so who do you want to connect with? Who are they? Like, you have to do some level of research about them. And you don't need to be their friends, but you can look them up on, sometimes when you look at somebody's Instagram, it gives you an idea of the type of person the person is. When you look at the person's tweets, it gives you an idea about who the person is. But now you can even go on LinkedIn and read about the person's background and things like that. When you have that small information about the person, you will be able to say things that are relevant to the person. So the key word here is relevance, right? People say a lot of things on social media. I go on social media. I only look for the things that are relevant to me. So if you are on social media and you want to get my attention, if you talk about maybe business or entrepreneurs, yes, I will read whatever you're writing. You know, I'll pay attention to that. But if you're talking about something that I have no interest in, I won't read it, or I might read it, but I might not pay attention to it. And how would you know that I'm interested in business? You just go to my Twitter profile and you would see it's there, Pitch Hub, interest in supporting businesses and things like that. Some people don't have that in their bios, like they don't explicitly mention their interest or their background. But like I said, just going through their profile, going through what they have posted will give you an idea. If you don't have any information at all, then that's when it's important to ask questions. You know, like it's important to ask questions because you don't want to say something that is irrelevant to the person. Because when you're saying irrelevant stuff, you won't get people's attention, and that's the honest truth. Yeah.
So I suppose with that, though, with the asking questions, there is you've probably worked with a lot of people who have kind of different levels of skill, and some which are probably really shy, I expect. So how do you help those who are shy to be able to kind of come out of their comfort zone to ask those questions to help improve their skill?
So first of all, like what I tell people is shyness is not a virtue, right? It's not a good, like you shouldn't be proud to say I'm a shy person. So that's one. You need to learn to get over your fear or your timidity, because where the world is going, you need to be open and you need to be confident enough to be able to also be part of the race. So that's the first thing I would say. Have it in your mind and be willing to learn to overcome your fears. What we do to help people build confidence, we spend a lot of time when we are working with entrepreneurs, and before we teach you how to pitch, we spend a lot of time teaching you how to build confidence. And that's when we bring coaches in to help them get over their inferiority complex, because some people are just timid because they feel they are inferior, because they feel like, okay, I don't know anything about this topic, or I don't have any experience in this background or anything. But when you tell them that, listen, no question or no statement that you make is useless, especially when it's in the form of a question. No question is stupid, you know, because the more you ask questions, the more people know that you are hungry to learn, which is a good thing. Everyone wants somebody that is willing to learn. So that's what we keep putting in their mind, so that they are aware of that. The other thing is, people are shy about the things that come out of their mouth because they don't know how it will be perceived. But what we tell the people we train is, nobody knows what's going to come out of your mind, right? Nobody knows what you're thinking about. Nobody knows what you're going to say next. The only person that knows that you've made a mistake when you're speaking is you, because nobody has an idea about what your presentation is like or whatever you're presenting. Yeah, people might have an idea about the topic, but they will never know your analysis of that topic. So don't be scared to share your thoughts, because that could be a new way of looking at things, which people will appreciate. Okay. Then the other thing that we advise people to do is to read. The more you read about a topic, the more confidence you build around that topic. And the more you're confident to share, because then in your mind, you know that, okay, I know this about it. So let me ask a question in relation to what I've read about it. You know, so read, have it in your mind that no question is stupid. The third thing is, nobody knows what you're thinking. You are the only one who knows whether you made a mistake or not. So be open and ask the question, because it could be that that's the new angle to look at things, which people will appreciate. Yeah.
So in essence, really, the shyness is within yourself. No one else knows you're shy when you come to present. So try and build that confidence that if you are going to make a mistake, it doesn't matter, because no one can see it as a mistake. So thank you very much, Aurelia, for being here and sharing your words of wisdom for us.
No worries. Yeah, I just want to say, if you have any questions, you can just reach out to me. Like I said, go through the slides, try and tackle some of the questions that I have asked in the slides, try and come up with answers to them. And if you think that you need help, just reach out to us and we'll be able to help you. But again, thank you so much to Yout for the opportunity. Really appreciate this.
The honor's ours. Thank you very much, Aurelia, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.